Hi there, welcome back. And now for the second movie review, which I wanna talk, which I wanna review for a long time this movie. But say hi to Rick. Say hi Rick. Say hi Rick to the audience. Hi Rick. Mm. So let's review the film Rambo First Blood Part 2, which I do have the Blu-ray. And I do love this movie to death. What can I say about Rambo First Blood Part 2, which is already said? To me, it's one of the best, greatest action sequels of all time. It's a pure badass action film. It's one of the finest action movies of all time. And I love this movie to death. And watching yesterday this movie and Rambo 3, I must really say that I love Rambo 3 too. I love all the movies that if you can see my channel, my title, Rambo McLean for life, which I love Rambo movies. And John Rambo is one of the best action heroes, one of the best action icons of all time. It's one of the best movies. It's definitely one of the best movies of all time. I would say one of the greatest action films of all time. And Rambo vs. Part 2 is a pure badass. It's a action classic. It's a quintessential pure badass, the finest action movie. And it's a direct sequel to First Blood. And Sylvester Stallone wrote the script. The first draft was written by James Cameron, who wrote and directed The Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And after this movie, he went to do Aliens, which I also love that movie to death. Rambo First Part 2 is one of my personal favorite action movies of all time, which I love this movie. I love this movie, such a badass action film, a quintessential action film, the finest action film. This movie cost more to make than the first movie. For the first movie, there was only $50 million the budget was for the first movie $50 million, but this movie was actually $44 million. Was the only Rambo movie that won an Oscar, and also this movie made $300 million worldwide, yes, with Rocky 4, and I think that, and Rocky 4 also made $300 million, and this movie. The same year came out Commando, but Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, they just hated each other. They were competing each other. Who's gonna kill on the screen more people? Who's the best action star? And Commando came out the same year, but wasn't that successful like Rambo First World Part 2 was, because in Rambo First World Part 2, this movie made $300 million worldwide, while Commando made only $57 million. And Arnold was pissed when this movie came out. And that time, there were competitive action movies. The year 1995, we got from Canon Movies, we got American Ninja, we got Death Wish 3. Death Wish 3 came out the same year, and Commando came out, and also this movie, Rambo First Blood Part 2, and I love this movie to death because it's a comic book hero. It's John Rambo is one of the greatest action icons ever. This is my comic book hero with bow and arrow and C4 tip arrows. Explosive C4 tip arrows, which they don't make them. But I also do have this Blu-ray, which is the huge Blu-ray, which this is how the poster is. This is the huge Blu-ray. Rambo with machine gun M60. This is such a badass, cool action movie. And I also do have another Norwegian, First Blood Part 2, where I will be also uploading my Rambo collection from my old channel. And I do have the DVD. The DVD has better pictures, By the way, this is Rambo 3, and this scene is from Rambo 3. The rest are all from this film, from Rambo First Blood Part 2. And directed was by George P. Cosmatos, son of Sylvester Stallone. Sage Stallone watched the film of unknown origin with Peter Weller, which was the movie that George P. Cosmatos directed. And because he liked the film, he recommended his father Sly to hire him for the work of the sequel of Rambo, and rest in peace, Sage Stallone, Sally, the actor and the son of Sly, passed away in 2012. And I think the next year, Tommy Morrison from Rocky 5 also passed away. So rest in peace, Sage Stallone and Tommy Morrison, because they both acted in Rocky 5. And Sylvester Stallone decided to do the sequel, And in the opening scene, when you see Rambo wearing blue jeans and red t-shirt, if you watch closely in Beverly Hills Cop 94 or the original film, but on the end, you have to watch on the end, Eddie Murphy is also wearing a red shirt, the same shirt that Rambo wears in this movie, and blue jeans. And in Beverly Hills Cop, Sylvester Stallone is supposed to play the lead character, Axel Foley, but because he was keep changing the script, and the producer, the studio said that the movie is gonna be way too expensive to do the stuff that he wanted to do, so he was fired, from Beverly Hills Cop. And because his year at the time was not successful, Rhinestone sucked. Stay Alive also did sucked. I did not like it, So he decided to do the sequel to First Blood, because First Blood is based on a novel which I reviewed 2 days ago. It's based on a novel, but on the book, John Rambo dies, but in the movie, Rambo does not die, so they could make a sequel, and Stallone decided to do a sequel. Instead being just First Blood 2, or First Blood Part 2, he wanted, just like Rocky, the title, so he wrote Rambo First Blood Part 2 and later Rambo 3. But yeah, this is actually the third Rambo film I saw as a kid, And I also saw this movie was actually more successful, but the only reason why First Blood became such a phenomenal classic film was only because Rambo First Blood Part 2. If they won't be this movie existed, I don't think that First Blood will be so important like it is today. I don't think so. Because when this movie came out, they did not, even people did not know who Rambo is. They did not know who Rambo is at all, They did not know, But Rambo First Blood Part 2, Love to Death, it's a badass action film. John Rambo from First Blood, it's a sequel to First Blood, returns, and this time he's given a full pardon if he accepts a mission to go back in Vietnam and search for his POWs, which is a rescue mission. And Rambo says, and of course his commanding officer, Rambo's commanding officer, he convinces Rambo, he goes and convinces Rambo to give him a full pardon if he accepts the mission. And Rambo accepts the mission. He goes in Laos, and we see Martin Coe, who was played in the Karate Kid. He played John Kreese, karate champion and Vietnam vet. In this movie, he plays Erickson. And also see Charles Napier, and Richard Crenna returns as Colonel Samuel Troutman. And Rambo gets a mission in which he has to locate it and look for empty camps and take pictures, just photographs, nothing else, And Rambo says, I forgot to mention the line, but in the prison, when Samuel Troutman says, I try everything to get you out, this is the memorable line that Sylvester Stallone says in this movie as John Rambo. Sir, do we get to win this time? This time's up to you. That's my favorite line. And yes, Rambo this time goes back to Vietnam and wins, and he wins Vietnam, And sir, do we get to win this time? This time's up to you. Also beautiful music score by Jerry Goldsmith, which I enjoy more the music score than the first movie is, Jerry Goldsmith's music is actually phenomenal. Rambo First Part 2 is a phenomenal action. It's a badass action movie of all time. I love Rambo First Part 2. It's such a huge classic. It's such a badass action. And this is my movie. This movie speaks to me. It's my movie. I love Rambo First Part 2. If you watch Gremlins Part 2, the new batch, we see Gizmo, who also watches Rambo First Part 2, and he later imitates Rocky in Rambo First Part 2, he imitates Rambo. And I just love this movie. So Rambo goes in the airplane, and he jumps off with parachute, but he gets stuck. He hangs himself on the parachute. Rambo hangs himself on the parachute, and Rambo cuts the equipment, so he falls down on the ground in Vietnam with parachute. That time Rambo meets Cole Bao, played by Julia Nixon. That was actually her first movie that she did. Julia Nixon played in the movie Sidekicks with she played in Sidekicks with Chuck Norris. She played in Sidekicks with Chuck Norris. But yeah, that was she was Agent Kobau. She was Agent Kobau, and she goes through the river with Rambo, with pirates on the boat. They go through the river, and when Rambo and Kobau located the camp, it turns out it's not empty camp. It's actually the camp is full with Viet Congs, with VC. It's full with VC Viet Congs. And Rambo, he goes, I forgot to mention, but in the opening scene when Rambo gets prepared, we see him, machine gun, submachine gun, and he also has, we also see a we also see a knife, it's a survival knife designed by Jimmy Lai, which he's making like this, like a pure badass he is, he goes like this. He's a pure badass, Rambo. And Rambo, without t-shirt, he goes, actually he has a black weird t-shirt, in the boat, he says, that he's expendable. And I think that 25 years later, Sylvester Stallone made a film called The Expendables, and he said, I'm expendable, this movie, And once they located the camp, it turns out that the camp is not empty, it's full with VC, and Rambo finds prisoners, POWs, you see all the rats, I've read that Sylvester Stallone had to deal with spiders and with snakes in this film. I think was another, he had to do with spiders and with snakes in this movie, because work in this movie, because they filmed in New Mexico. It was over 30 degrees that time. It was very hot. I think there was a tsunami which destroyed the setting, But Rambo saves that POW, and all three are now escaping, And next morning the VC find their man dead, because Rambo. Rambo uses bow and arrow, which is actually, I wrote it down, but it's actually, I think it's actually Scoit archery compound bow, more as a Torgue bow, but he uses bow and arrow, which is something different, he uses bow and arrow, and he fires when POW is coughing, and the guy is using the light at them. Rambo grabs bow and arrow, aims and fires, and it hits him and kills him, And when they go through the river, this guy, a VC guard shows up, and Rambo says, Tao Ting, grabs a dagger and shows the dagger in the motherfucker's chest, the guy falls down, And another we see guard finds Cobao while sneaking around and puts the gun, and Rambo grabs a bow and arrow and fires and shoots him right in the fucking head, right in the head. He got an arrow, which is a badass scene. And all the weapons that you see, everything in this movie is actually for real. The weapons are real, they're real used, Sylvester Stallone trained for 8 months, for 4 hours on this movie, so you can see he's actually in physical condition. He's in best shape, he's in the best shape, he's fast, and he worked very hard for this film, for 4 hours at 8 months, so that he trained for this film. And also he was training with weapons, with bow and arrow, he was training. And Rambo gets split up with Cobao and says this is the end, and she says Rambo is not expendable. Rambo makes with shakes with hand like this, and they go to a extraction point. And this is actually I'm looking for that scene, which is actually my favorite scene. Damn, what the hell? That scene, that scene, that scene when he goes through the minefield, he's through the cornfield, he's running, Rambo is running through the cornfield, with AK-47, and we see, we actually see, I think was with mortar, I think was the grenade launcher M29 81mm, when the VC were fired, but it did not hit anything, But Rambo was running with a prisoner, through that cornfield. That's my favorite scene. That's my favorite scene. He runs to the cornfield, and they are using a grenade launcher, but firing on Rambo and the prisoner, but they don't miss anything, which is actually my favorite film. And when you see Rambo with the prisoners lining up the hill, and there's a mat, there's a mat. Sylvester Stallone trained for this kind of scene, he trained for this scene, and Rambo did that, he trained, and he trained for those kind of scenes, and that's what in the movie was about, and when Rambo shows up, we see this guy with sunglasses. Sally, I don't know the actor. He only had one scene. He fires with M60, on the bad guys, on VC, which is badass. And they go to extraction point, and Troutman says, Murdoch, we found someone, and Marshall Murdoch says, everyone gets aside, only 2, and says abort the mission, abort, and Rambo is now been betrayed, is now betrayed by his own men, they let him behind with a helicopter, Erickson let him behind. And I love when Colonel Sharman shows up and says, what are you doing? What are you doing? What have I done? Oh, don't spare, something. Don't compare with you, scum. I love Richard Green is the best in this film as Colonel Simon Troutman. It's all alive. What are you talking about? Rambo, my God, I love this movie so goddamn much. I love to death this movie. Such a pure, badass, iconic action movie. They don't make movies like this anymore. What are you talking about? You suspected that Rambo decorated van shows up and finds there's no people that case closed, but he finds something no one knows about it except your machines and couldn't program that. The hell are you talking about? A stinking bureaucrat who just tried to cover his ass. Not just my ass, the whole nation. It's actually your own hero's fault. If he do what's supposed to do, that won't happen. Oh my God. You're doing the same thing, There's 14 billion reparations, They refuse, and they keep the POWs, and you're doing the same. And what is supposed to do, Troutman? Pay with own pay rent with own money. What is our POWs was in front of the Senate and in the TV. Oh my God, I love this movie. And I love when for forgotten view goes Ben, goddamn Ben, the man who fought for this country. That's enough. Just not to forget this ever happened. I was, I wanted to bring this action there again. You're making a mistake. Yeah, what mistake? Rambo. I love that, Rambo. And that when Rambo is captured, we find out there's actually Russians, There's actually Russians. And Steven Burkov, who was the bad guy in Beverly Hills Cop, Colonel Podolsky, he's the only one that speaks English. And he, as a pure badass he is, as a bad guy in Beverly Hills Cop, he was cast in this movie. He was also cast in Octopussy, And Rambo, for example, Part 2, has been now Rambo is actually in this swamp, which they actually torture him, they spitting on him, and we see, and Russians shows up, and turns out that the Russians are actually the leaders of VC, and Colonel Podolsky orders his men that they clean off Rambo, so they did, and he demands that he calls his command office, and they said that he's been captured, and that he's been accused of espionage, about spy and espionage, and that he's a spy, and that is never gonna happen, that kind of stuff again, And Rambo is like, fuck you, and of course Paul Podolsky wanted to tell me your name, what's that, and or with my comrades, or with my comrades before, and we see Rambo's face, look on face, because he was captured. If you watch First Blood, in the First Blood he was captured, and Rambo, is such a pure badass, and when he's tortured and been on that hit with electricity, Kobao, she dresses like a hooker, and she goes in the camp and she saves Rambo, and Rambo, a pure badass, he punches one of the Russians is Goro Wushin. He was actually a bodyguard for Rambo, for Stallone, and they became friends, Excuse me. I have to turn off the light. That's better, He has to become for Rambo. He's captured, and Rambo, with the help of Kobao, he escapes. They escape, and she fires out of the guards. Rambo with his rare knife, the same Jimmy Line, stabs one of the bad guys, in the chest, and takes the machine gun to the AK-47 and fires the guards, and he escaped through the big wire. He escaped with Kobao, and they escape, and now they're looking for Rambo, but they escape. And Rambo, this time, the first time he kisses Kobao, she saves him, and he says, I'm never gonna forget what you did for me. They kiss, and this is the first time that we see Rambo being more human than he was in the first movie, He's more human, Rambo is more human, he's more human than he was in the first movie, and this is the first time he kisses Kobao, and he grabs bow and arrow, and Kobao has been now shot to pieces by VC Commander, she's been shot, and Rambo grabs a machine gun, fires back, and hits the bad guy. Said the leader who kills Kobao, he escaped, he misses. Now Rambo been pissed, now when Kobao says Rambo not gonna forget about me, he says no, and he's been crying. We see Rambo more emotion. And now Rambo has been pissed. He takes bandana like a pure badass he is. He takes just like in Rambo 3. Which I'm gonna talk next. He takes the bandana around his head, his bow and arrow, and now the Russians and the VCR searching in on Rambo. And this is the memory line, my favorite scene. Rambo, like a pure badass, he goes and hunts down those Russians. The first Russian, he snaps his neck. The other one he's joking him, snaps his neck once again. One of the Russians is up the hill, on the rock, and Rambo with bow and arrow fires an arrow, hits him, and Rambo also another Russian, he fires an arrow, and shoots one of the bad guys. The other Russian keep firing with his AK-47 but misses Rambo. And Rambo is up the hill and is actually in the water by the river, in the rocks. And when the Russian is looking for Rambo, like this pure badass fires and shoots him, And Rambo is also in the mud, and this guy Russian is looking for Rambo through the between the rain, and Rambo grabs him, and stabs him, all the mud, Rambo was all the mud, Rambo was all the mud, Sad is not that scene that I will show you the mud. I actually forgot, but during the torture scene, during the torture scene, Colonel Podolsky tortures John Rambo, and he goes and he actually with a hot, with when the steel has been like hot in the fire, he goes and he puts on the Rambo's face, just like you see in this scene, he puts in the Rambo's face, and he makes him a scar, that's a really dangerous scene, But Rambo, Rambo is there running because they're hunting him, and Rambo kills one of the chickens. They don't show in the movie, but he kills one of the chickens, and he puts the blood, and when they go in the cornfield, we see Rambo burns them, Then Rambo, like a pure badass, it's my favorite scene, with bow and arrow, that scene, Rambo with bow and arrow, he goes and, or this scene, he goes and fires, he goes and he fires, fires with bow and arrow, and we see, this is the first time that we see Rambo with compound, with Hoyt archery compound bow, and he goes and he fires, Rambo goes and fires and destroys destroys the village of the bad guys, he goes and destroys their vehicles, he has C4 tip arrows, explosive arrows, which they don't make kind of movies like that, with explosive C4 tip arrows, he keeps firing the arrows and he keeps destroying the vehicles, the bad guys, he blows them to pieces. And of course, this guy, and of course, while Rambo is running by the waterfall, the VC commander, he goes with his machine gun, and fires on Rambo but misses him. Then he grabs a gun, and Rambo, like a pure badass, grabs and he aims and fires, and explosive C4 tip arrows blows VC Commander to pieces. That's my favorite scene, a VC Commander being blown to pieces with explosive arrows, actually one of my personal favorite scenes. That's my favorite scene. He blows him to pieces, with explosive C4 tip arrows. So, and of course, there's a helicopter, shows up, there's a helicopter shows up, and there's a struggle in which Rambo, grabs one of the guards, throws him out while the guy was shooting in the river. Rambo grabs him, throws him out of the helicopter, fights off Yushin. He fights him off, throws him off the helicopter, tries to stab the helicopter pilot, but the guy jumps off the cliffs, dies. And Rambo grabs a helicopter, and now he's angry. He goes back to the VC camp, and starts firing all the bad guys, and he destroys all the bad guys. He blows all the pieces. What you see, they designed, they made the cabins, they made everything and they blow up everything. Rambo with real weapons, real gun explosions goes and blows the whole fucking village. He explodes the village. He kills all the bad guys. And then with M60, Rambo with M60, he goes and fires on the bad guys, the Russians. He goes and fires on the bad guns, with M60. He goes and fires M60A machine gun, the bad guys, saves the POWs, all POWs saves, one of the Russians shots one of the poor POWs, and Rambo saves shots back, they go now with a helicopter. And during the helicopter, Colonel Podolsky is hunting them, and they start fighting each other. And of course the other POW, fires back with a machine gun, and he hits one of the Russians. Keep coming after them, And now Rambo, like a pure badass he is, he actually goes and he flies with the helicopter, and Rambo then, of course, Rambo, when Colonel Podolsky fired the missiles, and we see practical explosion, Rambo's helicopter has been now lying, and Podolsky thinks that Rambo is dead, so he goes closer and wants to blow him, but Rambo grabs M72, he grabs, I think was he grabs M72 Lao grenade launcher and goes to the glass and blows the pieces Colonel Podolsky's helicopter. Then he goes back to the camp in Laos, and he saves all the POWs. And Rambo then he goes, like a pure badass he is. Rambo goes and he says to this guy, he says, he goes and fires with M60E. He goes and fires the machines, destroys the machines, the computers. He fires like, oh, in the he goes and fires in the roof. Then he goes and grabs Murdoch, and says, there's more men out there, where they are. Find them, or I'll find you. And that's a badass, Marshall Murdoch is flying. This is my favorite scene, But my favorite scene would be explosive tip arrows, and Rambo is firing, with the tip arrows. Like he's firing on the vehicles, destroys the vehicles, which is a badass. So on the end, Rambo now, because all the POWs are saved, Colonel Chapman says you're gonna get a second Medal of Honor, and Rambo says get to them, they deserve more. The war, everything is wrong, but don't hate catch you for it. And Rambo says, hate, what I for? And I love when Chapman says, what do you want? I want what they want. And every guy that went and spilled his blood, and once we want that our country love us the way we love her. And I love when Troutman asks Rambo, how you gonna live, John? And Rambo answers, day by day. This is actually how I'm gonna live, day by day. I just love that, And there's the beautiful song by Piece of Our Life with Frank Stallone. Piece of Our Life, remember. There's also I cheer for my brothers in the home of free. Piece of Our Life, I love that song. It's my favorite song, what I forgot about mentioning this movie, that's such a badass action film. I forgot a few scenes. Rambo is actually on the river, and those pirates betray Rambo and Co. And when the guy hits Rambo and he hits Co. Rambo grabs two daggers and stabs the motherfucker. The leader pirate grabs a gun, and fires one of his men. And Rambo now grabs a shotgun. He grabs a shotgun, which I wrote it down. Shotgun Remington 870. He grabs shotgun and fires and kills all the bad guys. One of the guys shows up, fires him, and there's this guy on the roof, in the boat, and Cole grabs a machine gun, fires and falls down, and then we see a VC boat, a real VC boat, and Rambo says to Cole and that POW, jump, I'll fight, jump, they both jump, and the boat with the patrol boat with VC Viet Congs on it, firing on Rambo. Rambo grabs RPG-7 anti-tank grenade launcher, and he aims and fires and destroys the boat to pieces. That's another famous scene. And then when Rambo tries to escape, Rambo tries to escape, and this motherfucker lies there, grabs like this Rambo for the neck, and he keep holding him while the explosive, the on fire boat is gonna hit the pirate boat sooner, and he can't get away. Rambo grabs a knife and stabs the motherfucker, you see all the blood, and then Rambo goes and jumps in the water and see explosion, practical explosion, I love this movie to death, it's practical. They're all scenes are practical, the action, I forgot to mention that the producers wanted to team up with John Travolta, his co-star from Staying Alive, but Stallone wanted a solo project, so that's great. And rest in peace, Marshall Murdoch. Charles Napier, I love Charles Napier. He was later in Hard Justice. He played another Viet Cong. Actually, he played another POW who was later a sadistic warden, who was dealing with weapons, smuggling them. But Charles Napier, I love Charles Napier as Marshall Murdoch. Rest in peace. Rambo kicks Erickson in the balls and in the face, but rest in peace Richard Crenna. I love Richard Crenna to death, a father figure to Rambo, and rest in peace Charles Napier. But that's actually my movie review on Rambo First Part 2. I forgot to mention this is the first time I see Rambo using a shotgun, but that's cool. But I love this movie to death. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and of course my dog, it says bye bye, see ya later guys, bye bye. And I'm gonna review then Rambo 3, which I hardly waiting, Bye.